A few days ago, I released a Crash Bandicoot N. Sane Trilogy mod, or a couple of mods, to make the Crash 3 superpowers work in the other two games. This video is just a quick follow-up to the one where I discussed all of that stuff. I did say that I was done with that particular mod for the time being, but I then decided that now that I had a version of this that was actually properly playable, I might as well see if I could get it working on the Switch port of the game too. And I've seen a couple of people asking for that as well, so hopefully, if you wanted this, it works okay for you. I've also very slightly updated the PC version of the Crash 2 mod, so if you downloaded that before this video was posted, and you've discovered that you can get upsettingly close to achieving 100% completion on a fresh save, the new version should fix the one thing that may have been getting in your way. I'll come on to that in a minute. I won't repeat myself again about how to install these mods. Doing it on the Switch is basically the same as what I showed for the PC version at the end of that other video. I'm assuming that if you've already got custom firmware set up on your Switch, you already have your preferred way of copying stuff across, or even if you're using an emulator that you know where you're supposed to be putting mods and stuff. So yeah. As with the PC version, there's two different mods for Crash 1 and Crash 2. You can't have both working at the same time for various reasons. And again, it'll probably completely ruin your save data, so back that up first if you care about it. I've done quite a bit of testing and I do have every level working okay at this point. Not perfectly, but you can at least play all the way through both games. But as I mentioned last time, in Crash 1, none of the bonus rounds work. To unlock a bonus level in that game, you need to pick up 3 special tokens that are scattered around the level, and although they still appear in Crash 3 mode, the game just doesn't track them, so the bonus rounds never open. So that is one of the reasons why you can't get to 100% completion in Crash 1 with this mod installed, because you can't break any of the boxes in the inaccessible bonus rounds, and you can't collect either of the keys that are required to unlock the 2 extra levels. And I have experimented with a few different ways of fixing that. I mean, you can just dump all of the bonus round crates into the main path of the level, or it's very simple to remove the bonus rounds entirely, and then you only need to break the boxes that are normally in the main path to get the gems. And as for the keys, you can even bring them out from the bonus rounds and collect them without even having to deal with the challenges you're supposed to beat to earn them, which, to be fair, do become a lot easier with the superpowers anyway, if you manage to break into them somehow. But in my experience, the keys are a bit glitchy when you're in Crash 3 mode. They don't exist in Crash 3 proper, so I don't think it knows how to handle them. And even though you can theoretically make all the gems achievable without the bonus levels, I've had some issues getting the coloured gems to register properly. And the coloured gems are necessary to access other kinds of hidden areas and secret boxes. There's just a lot of obstacles that make 100% in Crash 1 when you're using this mod not that straightforward. But that was never the goal of this mod. I was never planning to, modify every level individually in some way in order to make it possible. It's just a bit of fun. So why do I even bring it up? Well, because I expected Crash 2 to also have loads of problems that would make getting to 100% impossible. I had run through the game to check that every level worked before I released the PC mod, but I hadn't attempted to collect everything. When it came to testing the Switch version, I actually streamed that live on Twitch. That's not a plug for my Twitch channel. I hadn't used it for the last 6 years before that. It may well be another 6 years before I use it again. You can probably guess what the username is if you want to look it up. It was Crash 1 that I was initially intending to test, but that test failed straight away because I'd done something fundamentally wrong. So I went for Crash 2 instead, and I just wanted to see how much of the game you could complete. Long story short, I made it as far as 99%. Unlike in Crash 1, you can get into every bonus level, and whenever you collect a coloured gem, it stores that information correctly, and it lets you use the gem platforms that you should be allowed to use when you come across them. My guess for why all the gems work in Crash 2 is that, like in Crash 3, the coloured gems are just collectibles you can pick up inside the levels, unlike in Crash 1, where they're given as an alternative to the normal clear box gem in certain levels. In 2 and 3, the box gem is always clear. So I guess that's why when you collect what physically appears to be a coloured gem in Crash 1, on the HUD it still just shows up as a clear gem. So you were able to collect every single gem in Crash 2 when you had the Superpowers mod installed in its initial form. And you could do everything else required for 100% except for one tiny little thing. I mean, I think in theory you should still be able to pick up the extra 2% you get from the gold relics, which would push you over 100 if you make it to 99 like I did, but I can't face play playing through every level again for like the 15th time this week to test it. The fact that time trials still work in Crash 2 is another thing that Crash 1 is lacking with this mod, actually. But ignoring the relics, the missing 1% can be attributed to one of the secret exits that exists in the game. In normal Crash 2, in the level Digging It, if you body slam on this specific flytrap plant, you'll be teleported away and reappear at a secret portal that takes you to an alternative starting point in a different level, Road to Ruin. And discovering that secret and activating that sequence of events awards you with 1% towards your progression. Therefore, it is required to get to 100 if you ignore the relics. But it transpires that these plants that you can kill quite easily with a normal body slam attack are completely immune to the supercharged version of that, which is one of the superpowers that this mod gives you. That isn't that weird, really. You're never expected to have that ability in any of the levels where these guys appear. It's just like how there are some enemies in Crash 1 you can't kill with a slide attack, even though it looks like you should be able to. You do sometimes see the opposite of that too. Enemies that you can kill with the bazooka or something, even though normally they would be impossible to hurt, which I always find quite interesting. It doesn't work on this enemy though, and although they're annoying, you never need to kill any of these spitting fly traps apart from this one individual. The rest you can just avoid. And I tried a few different ways to attack this plant. I took a few suggestions from the people watching too. Aku Aku wasn't any help. I later checked and found out you can kill the plant and use the warp if you have full invincibility from 3 masks, but as far as I can tell, there's no way to be invincible in this part of the level. So because this one single bastard weed turned out to be the only thing getting in the way of max completion, I decided to remove him from the level. Alternatively, I could have excluded Digging It from the mod and left that in Crash 2 mode. That also would have worked, just sacrificing all the superpowers for one level for the sake of being able to use the normal body slam again. And there are some places where I've done exactly that. In Crash 1, I left Hog Wild and Whole Hog and Lights Out and Fumbling in the Dark in Crash 1 mode because of their own issues that make them a little bit broken. And all of the boss fights too, across both games, because most of them don't end properly when in Crash 3 mode. You can still try all of those with the powers if you want, just install the extras mod that's on the download page. I could have done the same thing here, but because it was just one instance of one type of object causing the problem, and removing it fixes the problem, I thought this was a better way to do it. This is a much simpler kind of level mod than some of the thoughts I've had about addressing those other broken levels. And also, I would rather keep all of the superpowers available in Digging It, because honestly, I hate these B levels more than almost anything else in the whole franchise. I mean that quite sincerely. Oh my god. But anyway, if you play the Crash 2 Switch mod, this little outcrop should be vacant and safe to jump onto to get that 1%. And that is also the one change I've made to the PC mod too. If you go back to the download page, there's an updated link for that. So if you now try either version of the Crash 2 Superpower mod, you should now be able to get to 100%, possibly the full 102, but I haven't tried that yet. I do know for sure though, you can get the good ending now. Although you might miss some cutscenes if you've been playing as Coco. Watch out for that if you're paying attention to the story. And what's funny about that secret warp being the issue, as demonstrated by everything else in the game still being possible without it, is that you don't even need to use that secondary entrance to Road to Ruin, because the double jump lets you reach that hidden part of the level anyway, like you could in the original PS1 game. But I think I've talked for long enough now about this thing that I already said I was done talking about last week. What I need to do now is make sure all of this is recorded okay, because my computer is still completely broken from when I briefly opened my level editor while hosting a live stream at the same time a couple of days ago. Everything's still so broken, even after several full reboots. Oh, I love it. There is a reason why I don't do modding streams anymore. Is it worth trying to do a quick experiment? This is such a bad idea, I shouldn't be doing this. Oh, for fuck's sake. I slightly just closed the door on my toe as well. The game is running on PC, but it's crashed and I can't do anything about that. Windows Explorer's not responding. Restarting it doesn't do anything. Oh god. Help! Oh.